Ready for another edition of Just Say No. Glad to be back with you. Today we want to cover a little bit of my own history, just so you get to know me again, since I'm back after a few years. Sam Melton here. I'm part Native American, been a powwow dancer, and very active in my native beliefs, and spent some time in Southeast Asia on the Thai-Cambodian border, the so-called killing fields, where Pol Pot had murdered thousands and thousands of his own people. We're trying to discuss the problem of Israelis' violent behavior toward the indigenous Palestinian people. And since I am an indigenous person, it takes me in a very personal way the behavior of these individuals who are not, and let's repeat that, not Sephardic Jews or natural Jews to Palestine or what they call Israel. They are European Jews, and most of them
Hello and welcome to a special live stream for Sunday, January 19th. I'm Nora Barrows-Friedman with my colleagues Ali Abunima, John Elmer, Asa Winstanley, and Tamara Nassar. After 471 days of Israel's genocide, we can finally say this is day one of the ceasefire. We have an important show for you today. We'll be joined by our contributor Abu Bakr Abed live from Gaza, and we'll analyze the terms of the ceasefire and the next steps as Palestinians in Gaza begin to rebuild and restore after Israel's 15 months of calculated, systematic campaign of destruction. Like many of you, in the past few hours, we've been watching the scenes of celebration across Gaza. The thousands of Palestinians walking step by step back to their homes or in the rubble of their homes in the north and in the south. We've watched the first stage of the captive exchanges. We've seen the heroic civil defense, the paramedics, the doctors, the municipal workers, and the journalists in all their dignity and bravery lift each other up, quite literally, onto the shoulders of their community. And we've seen the fighters of the resistance amongst their people who have endured unimaginable and unrelenting terror at the hands of Israel and the U.S., and who did not surrender, did not concede for 15 months straight. It's been an intense day already, to say the least, and we're all trying to catch our breath and recalibrate ourselves toward processing this brutal Holocaust and anticipating what comes next. People have been celebrating. So let's take a look at some of the scenes and then we'll bring Abu Bakr on.
مخيم جباليا نبث لكم وقف اطلاق النار على مدينة غزة. الحمد لله وقف شلال الدم. طبعا زي ما انتم شايفين الدمار اللي في مخيم جباليا فيش ولا دار واقفة، وبنقول لكم بدنا نعمرها وترجع احلى من قبل. واهم حاجة انه انتصرنا انتصار، وهينا رجعنا خاوة على مخيم جباليا، والوضع عايز كوفي غصبا عن الكل، وهينا في مخيم جباليا وعاشت المقاومة. اروح على الشمال واعمل بيتي من اول وجديد وان شاء الله خاوة نعمر غزة، خاوة نعمر غزة.
Let's begin with how we're thinking about all of this. Ali, why don't you set us up, and then we'll bring Abu Bakr in.
Well, I've been up since early in the morning here in Amman, and it's now just past midnight, and it's been all so much to take in. I mean, the most important thing is that people in Gaza are getting relief from the bombing, from the savagery, from the constant flow of blood, and a chance to catch their breath. And it's just been unbelievable. I mean, many of us, I think, have cried tears of joy today for the first time after crying tears of sadness for more than a year. And although there is so much loss, so much death, so many loved ones that people have lost, there is something to celebrate today. It's not a small thing. And so people's emotions are mixed. Everything is in there. And I just want to hear from Abu Bakr, really. I think he's the one who can set it up for us.
Let's bring him in. Abu Bakr, are you there? Oh, there you are. Hi.
How are you?
I don't even know what question, we should ask you first. Tell us what this day has brought for you, what you've seen, what it has meant for you. You survived. You survived. And we're all so grateful and so proud of you.
Thank you so much. I think first we need to lower our voices a bit because everyone around me is asleep. That's
for the first time in 15 months.
Yes.
Yeah.
A peaceful sleep.
It's just 11 p.m. here around midnight. But yes, just we need to lower our voices. I think it's been, wow. I mean, I never expected that to be real at all. Just when you see even like the hospital, another shape, another look inside it, everyone is happy. Just a few days ago, a day before the ceasefire, the hospital was reflecting a deeply traumatic picture where mothers were ululating over the bodies of their loved ones and children, and fathers were screaming in pain after losing their children and their loved ones. And corpses were being taken outside and inside the hospital. Now, what I've seen today is just people are happy, so happy, jubilant, and they're showing extreme passion, amazing, unprecedented passion and love of life. The steadfastness they've been showing, the resilience every time and every single day. It's been literally amazing and fascinating. And if we talk about children in more details, the children, this is the first time they're playing outside. This is the first time they are gathering with their families. This is the first time they have snacks in their hands that they can enjoy. This is the first time they are playing football together in the streets. This is the first time they are really dancing, they're really chanting, and the wails are replaced by honks, the wails are replaced by cheers. This is literally an unprecedented time. It is something we've never seen, we haven't seen over the course of this genocide. It's been 470 days. And let me just tell you, personally speaking, I'm really happy. Like I always said it, and I was always hopeful, particularly you, Nora and Ali, and I said it, that we would do that live stream in a time of no hostilities. And now here we are. I mean, it's day one of the Gaza ceasefire. It's not day 471. It's one only. So the hope that I always clung onto the feelings of joy, happiness, and that smile, I will never lose it, as I promised you. I really remember just probably 2 months ago when we did about the starvation, we did a live stream about the starvation. You were really affected. I told you that no, I'm here, he's smiling, I'm here with you. So amazing. I'm really proud to, and I'm really happy to be with such an amazing team. And again, I'll say it in the live stream, we need Tamara to be on, okay?
We'll try to convince her. We'll try to convince her for you.
I told her many times the WhatsApp, but she's not responding. She's quite, shying away from that. I don't know why.
Well, today you are rightly the star of the show, and the people of Gaza are the star of the show. And Abu Bakr, you have, over the last few days, over the last 15 months, you have been doing incredible journalism while trying to survive this genocide, while trying to care for your family, while dealing with the health issues that come with being forced to live under such a horrific situation. And today is a day of joy and happiness and celebration. What do you think? I mean, maybe we should just stop there and focus on that. But I think there is a question many people have about what comes next in the future. Have you thought about that? Are people around you talking about that? What's the feeling in Gaza?
I really don't want to share more heartbreaks, but the reality is that most people here trapped in the territory are saying that the first thing they want to do is just go back to their houses and inspect what has happened there. Because what we've seen, particularly in the northern parts of central Gaza, in El Barish and Al-Sayrat, and also in the southern part of the Strip, at Khan Yunis and Rafah, specifically the eastern outskirts, people are getting back to absolutely nothing, like literally nothing. There is just a massive scale of destruction. There's nothing to really build on at all. And the streets reflect a very, very, very miserable picture that cannot be imagined at all. But what is more heartbreaking is that a lot of families here say that they haven't buried their loved ones, they haven't buried their children, they haven't buried their brothers, their sisters. And a lot of people whom I've been talking to say, I don't know if my loved one, brother, neighbor, or friend or colleague is still alive or not. A lot of people have been missing during this time. A lot of people's corpses have been bulldozed and taken elsewhere. So I know that there will be more atrocities unfolding across Gaza, because this is not the end of atrocities unfolding in terms of the bombings, in terms of what Israel is unleashing in Gaza. But the reality is that today we've been informed by some of those who were going back to their houses. There were injuries among people because the places were full of explosives after the Israeli war withdrawal. And this is something very alarming for people, particularly for those who are getting back to their houses and to their sound houses. So there is still so much work for the municipalities here to do in terms of making sure that people will not be harmed if they go back to their houses after the Israeli troops withdrawal from the active war zones before the ceasefire. And just it's deeply concerning that the first thing people would do is just to go back to their houses and retrieve the bodies of their loved ones and take them to the graveyard. This is absolutely unimaginable. It's insurmountable, of course, but I think that it's still that people are resilient. People are very, very hopeful of a good future in Gaza. They want to rebuild together. They're sticking together, and that feeling of unity, that feeling of togetherness, is really shining through Gaza. one more time again. And that's what people have been always craving and crying for. So it's their time to decide what their future is going to be like. It's the time to determine what they want to do in the future and to do all that kind of rebuilding and all that kind of, refreshing their lost lives that have been absolutely stolen by the Israeli regime, let me say.
Abu Bakr, can you describe for us what it sounds like now in Gaza without the constant buzzing of drones, what you've noticed that has changed since yesterday? Take us to Gaza. Take us to what it looks like, to what it smells like, to what it sounds like.
I'm really sorry to say, but Israeli drones are buzzing in the sky right now, sporadically, not very regularly as before. There is still a very clear sound of the buzzing in the sky. But what Gaza looks like right now is that I don't see fears among people going to their sleep at all. My entire family is sleeping right now. They don't care about what will happen in those hours. And it's just like, it's a feeling of safety, security that we've been deprived of since the start of this war. This is something, my mother and my father today in the family, they're free from the terror they have been through. They're free from the mental torture they have been through. Today, for the very first time, when I went walking the streets, I really felt that much tranquility, that much really freedom inside myself, that I'm no longer afraid of being targeted, of being bombed, and that there's a ceasefire in Gaza. There are no more hostilities. There's just a very, very, wow, it's a wonderful ambience that there is a lot of activity in the streets, traffic in the streets, something we've never seen since this war really broke out, and just people joy, people distributing sweets to each other, mothers crying for the very first time in happiness and elation, not in pain. And just as I said, children playing outside, dancing, and people backing up, removing those flimsy, leaky, damp, and frigid tents. They are no longer there. Those displacement camps, once always drawing horror for people, drawing so much suffering, deep anguish in their hearts, are no longer there. They've been removed. And just people don't want even to take those tents with themselves. They just say, we don't want anything that can really remind us of this Holocaust. That's why when I said on Twitter that I'm a Holocaust survivor, the Zionists, let me say, didn't like it. I've just read some of the replies. They were absolutely disgusting, but it's okay. It's a Holocaust in the end. But yeah, people know that they cannot really believe that they have survived it. They cannot really believe that they have made it. A lot of people, we need to remind people that the devastation needs to be crystallized for everyone around the world. Yet, I know Nakba survivors who are still alive. I know a lot of people who are still alive. But we know that there are many children who were born in the war and killed during it. There are many children who were stripped of their humanity. There were a lot of amputations, a full generation co-authored by the US Israeli genocide now in Gaza. Those scenes will haunt us in the next few days, and the losses that we still cannot really realize that they happened. Particularly for me, when you talk about my dearest friend, my aunt's family who was wiped out, I still cannot really comprehend it. It's quite inconceivable. But yes, of course, like, we need to rise from the ashes again, because that's the spirit of the Palestinian people. And particularly for me, I just wanted to emerge from that deadly attack and aggression on Gaza with hope, and I never lost it. I will never lose it. And just again, this is just the first step. until the liberation is inevitable.
Well, Bakir,
yeah, go ahead.
we're just I'm just so happy to see you. Without, I mean, I can't. We can't compare ourselves to those who are in Gaza and the worry they have. But for the first time tomorrow, I'll wake up in the morning without checking. Well, I'll still check my WhatsApp, but without that sense of looking to see who's there. Look for those replies and look for those tweets that give us a sense of relief to know that those we love in Gaza are still there, still alive, and that's a fear that people in Gaza have had for each other all this time, and I think especially if people outside, people from Gaza who are outside Gaza, separated from their families and worried about their families in Gaza, and it's just such a relief not to have that. And I know that there are still so many difficulties, the destruction of the infrastructure, the massive destruction of housing, all those challenges are real. But if this deal is adhered to and followed, then 600 to 700 trucks will be entering Gaza every day, which is supposedly more than before the war. The first trucks supposedly entered today. Have you seen any difference in terms of the situation, or is that still too early?
No, there have been no trucks allowed so far in Gaza, but there have been promises stated that the humanitarian situation will improve in the next few days. I think trucks will start getting into Gaza in the next few days. Also, building companies, particularly Egyptian ones, will enter Gaza to help clear the rubble of houses. And the first thing that will be guaranteed to get into Gaza in terms of the aid is medical aid and supplies, and the international convoys that will help doctors treat Palestinians, those who have been wounded during the genocide and sustained life-changing injuries. And but there is very seen and noticeable. It's a better humanitarian situation. Prices have declined, and people can really afford right now. But aid hasn't been allowed to enter. But I think in the next few days, people will be much more relieved by the surge of aid and the flows of aid getting into Gaza. But let me say one thing. I do believe that there must be an attack on humanitarian organizations. As I always said it, they are the second reason why we've been suffering all that time. They're not honest. They're not transparent. They're not good at all. They're just feeding upon our suffering. This is something I'm trying to tell people about. This is something I'm trying to tell the outside world, not to help those organizations fulfill their hidden plans, their hidden intentions. And people have to be aware of that, because all those humanitarian organizations will be masquerading as humanitarian in the next few days and just making and setting up organizations and different plans in Gaza to try and convince the world, in fact, can deceive them, and just to say that we are helping people in Gaza. But this will not be feasible, because we cannot really be fooled at the moment. Every Gaza knows that humanitarian organizations play a major role in really, really large in really, really worsening the situation, and just like dehumanizing people. And this is something really very, very disheartening. So I don't know what the best solution is, but I believe UNRWA has been really, really critical in helping Palestinians. Other than UNRWA, a few humanitarian organizations can be trusted. There are many, many, I mean, disgraceful stories that I'm aware of, particularly from What's in the Kitchen, from the WFP, from Manira, from Rahma, and other organizations. I've been talking to many people there, and what I know is that every company, every humanitarian organization was getting aid into Gaza, was getting goods as aid into Gaza, and earning around $1 million a day in Gaza. So yeah, I'm really aware of that. A lot of merchants and officials from the National Ministry of Economy in Gaza told me that they are earning $1 million a day in Gaza. This is during the time of the genocide. So feeding upon our suffering is intolerable. People have to know that. People have to know that it's not only the Israelis, it's also those who were complicit in the genocide, those who justified our killings, particularly the Western media, the Western mainstream media, those who masqueraded and pretended to be human, but came to feed upon our suffering, those who never think or never thought the Palestinians deserve to be human, those who really deemed us as subhumans. So all those people are also unforgivable, and they need to be, I hope that they are going to be held accountable for the crimes. They are really crimes they have been committing against people. So they are, I believe that they are as evil as the regime.
Abu Bakr, we should probably let you go and sleep because it's late.
No. Hey.
People are asking though about your yellow rose and how it has grown.
Yeah, I still have a lot of it. Because I think it's now winter. Yellow roses here in Palestine do not grow in winter, fortunately. But yeah, still, and even the jasmine trees, let me say, the jasmine trees are still there, but there are no flowers at the moment. It's a different weather here in Gaza. I still have that basil. I still have that yasmin tree. I still have that, of course, yellow rose. I still have that garden blooming. I showed Dr. Ali the lemon tree and the garden. And yes, we're still so much connected with the land and with what we are growing, with the fruits and everything that we really, really planted and built during this time. And we need really to consolidate that, of course, because this is this is our mentality for sure, and this is what we've been instilled into. Just the hope and the spirit and the essence of the Palestinian community. The social fabric has always been targeted by the Israelis, but it has never been weakened at all. We are going to strengthen it, and we are going to build on it, and just move away with that source of hope, that source of happiness, and that source of resilience. Until, again, as I say, that we're not totally happy with the ceasefire, because this is just Gaza. People have to be aware and conscious of and about the reality, the harsh reality of living inside Gaza, even before October the 7th. This is something people have to be aware of. We're still occupied, we're still subjugated, we're still suffocated inside Gaza. So we're working hard. The free people of the world should not really forget what Zionism has done to us and what Israel has done to us. It's really unforgivable. And I don't think peace is feasible at the moment, because Israel has killed every attempt to peace. So this is very, very impossible to achieve at the moment, and maybe in the next years. Israel has just created a full generation desperate for retaliation. So this is what Israel has to expect, and this is what will be unfolding in the next few in the next few years. So I know it's not the end of the story, the end of the conflict, but it will continue until every Palestinian literally feels free. Because again, I can really go to Jerusalem, I can really go to my hometown, which is Beit Daras.
Oh no.
Ugh. The infrastructure is still so fragile, of course.
Yeah. We
He
look
may
forward
he may
proud
be
of him.
switching devices.
Yeah.
We'll get him back in a couple of minutes. But I think what Abu Bakr is saying is so important that, I mean, today we're focusing on the joy and the relief and the celebrations, and quite rightly so. But the scale of the catastrophe in Gaza is enormous, but also the scale of the hope and the determination and the motivation. I mean, what was so incredible today was seeing the Gaza municipality immediately announce that it's getting to work reopening roads, starting to restore services. The traffic police came out immediately.
Yeah.
There has been that. I've been watching all day with footage coming from every part of Gaza all day. There are no signs of disorder. People are, the police are back in the streets. The everything, the government is still there, and that's critical, because remember all this talk we've been hearing over the past 15 months about the day after, as if the government of Gaza was going to just be erased,
Right.
and then they were going to be able to impose whatever they wanted, or Jared Kushner was going to be able to come in and start building his condos. The government of Gaza operated throughout this genocide, and it immediately came back out and was immediately visible right away. That's incredible. I think Abu
It
Bakr
is.
is back.
He
can
he
come.
is.
Yeah.
Abu Bakr.
Let's.
Are you there? Hi.
So yeah, so what I was talking about is just like, as I said, we don't need to be fooled by the ceasefire deal. It's a fragile. It's not what Palestinians have been always desperate for and looking for, because I'm still a refugee in Deir al-Balah. A lot of people are still refugees in Deir al-Balah. Dr. Ali has been away for a very long time and he cannot really see his hometown. We hold the same story. We hold the same agony. We have carried it since 1948, when Israel colonized the occupied Palestinian territories and occupied them. This must be really, really on the mind of everyone. This must be in the heart of everyone. And this is something we will always be working towards until we make it very, very real, and that a dream is just coming true.
Well, we are so proud of you. And, I think we all wish the world for you and your family and your community. And, this is part of this long struggle toward liberation. And, you have made us stronger, and you've proved, I think, to the world what bravery and courage and steadfastness means. And we're so grateful. I don't think we can ever repay, the debt that we owe to you for the work that you've done, and the words that you've spoken to us and to our audience. Everyone is so grateful, Abu Bakr.
We look forward to your yellow rose blooming again in the spring.
And to your football reporting. I cannot wait for you to go back to, what you love to do.
We might have to introduce a regular sports report on
I
the
think
live
so.
stream. I don't know. Maybe
I
that's
love that.
something. Yeah, that's something, because everything I know about sports in Palestine I learned from you, Abu Bakr, and there are so many stories to tell, particularly of the athletes that you have been following for so many years, and so many of whom have also been become disabled in this war or lost their lives. And you're absolutely passionate about them, and you're passionate about sports, and it's something that we all want you to be able to focus on instead of war reporting. Seeing you take that vest off today and take your helmet off was really a wonderful moment, and we'll be seeing a lot more of you, Abu Bakr, but today we just want to say thank you and congratulations. Alhamdulillah salamtak. And to you, your family, and your community. We love you so much, Abu Bakr, and we can't wait to see you in person
Of course, that is going to
somewhere,
be,
somehow soon.
Yeah.
yeah, of course, that's going to be, inshallah, very, very imminent. And when I say, because I've seen some of the journalists speaking about the Electronic Intifada, is not a compliment. It's really, really the truth. You've been absolutely without a doubt for me. And I'm talking here, and if other media outlets that I work with will be sad about it, okay, let them be sad about it. But for Ava that has covered the genocide with the best platform, really, that has platformed every Palestinian trapped in the territory. You have given it everything. Nora, Ali, Tamara, Isa, John, everyone on the team, David, Omar, all of you really, really must be eulogized, must be praised so much. And if we share one thing today, if we really want to share one thing today, it's you. You've been all through that journey with us. You've been all through that journey of suffering, all that journey of pain with us all the time. That means so much. That really strengthened our mentality, our spirit to continue enduring what was unfolding and what was happening to us every single hour and every single moment. So thank you so much for your work, for everything you've been doing. It's an honor that anyone watches you. It's an honor that anyone works with you. It's an honor that anyone knows you and knows your great work. So from here, from where I've been, it's been one of the most beautiful things, if not the most beautiful thing, during this world that I've known such an incredibly out of the world team that I'm speaking to right now. So I'm so grateful. My family is so grateful. And as just 22 years old, I think 2021, that is going to be 10. 10 is going to be it's my favorite number, and this number must be just put up there on the Electronic Intifada. And just a couple of things before I leave. We talked about something, the email crest. That is something that I need to take. The second thing is just, the second thing is going to be that we're going to be together and enjoying that everyone has to invite me to an okra plate. That is something I've been deprived of. So bear in mind that this is going to be very feasible. And again, just we're going to see you for sure. I'm so thankful. I'm so grateful. I don't have the words, to be honest, to tell you how grateful I am to be a part of you, to get to know you. My family knows you maybe more than they know me right now, and it's incredible. Thank you so much.
You're waiting for Bamia. Meanwhile, I can't wait until we can split a pizza. You've been sending me pictures of the food that you want to make, and I know that we're going to have a pizza party at some point.
Yeah, I can cook better than most of the women of the world. That's what I can say.
I'm sure. Oh,
Yeah.
thank you so much, Abu Bakr. Please get some sleep.
Get some sleep, Abu Bakr, and I promise not to text you early in the morning.
But the delay in the sleep is very, very much worth it. There's no better end for the day, and to this day, and to this very, very historic day. Being those people, and tomorrow should have been on. It's
We'll work on her. We'll work
Yeah.
on that for a future time. We'll see you many, many times.
you should really find her after it.
Red card tomorrow.
Ab-
Thank you, Abu Bakr. Please
Bye.
get some sleep. We'll
Great
speak
Thank
to
work,
you
you
Abu
so
soon.
much.
Bakr.
Yeah.
Good
Yeah,
night
oh,
and God bless you.
inshallah.
Good night.
Thanks.
Amazing.
He's done some great work.
He's just tenacity. Unbelievable.
Won't stop
Amazing.
worrying about him.
Yeah. 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 Oh, well, thank you for, sticking with us through that. It was pretty emotional, I think, for all of us. And I saw in the chat that our audience was also really happy and emotional seeing Abu Bakr smile. And let's talk about the terms of the ceasefire, what we know, what comes next, really.
Well, I mean, it's a very important day, obviously, and I think the most important thing is that Palestinians didn't surrender. Nobody in Gaza surrendered. The terms of the deal are the same terms of the deal. Abu Ubaidah said it today in his speech. The Qatari Prime Minister said it, that this is the same deal as November and December of last year. We're looking at the humanitarian stage of that agreement that could have been done in November of 2023, but that wasn't what Israel wanted. Israel didn't want to return their people. They wanted to destroy Gaza. They wanted to destroy the government of Gaza, which Ali said failed. They wanted to destroy the Qassam brigades, which clearly failed. And so those terms for all the suffering and all of the catastrophe of this last year, none of that violence made Palestinians concede on any point of the deal. So the first stage of the deal goes into effect today. The first 7 days of the deal, the Israeli military is withdrawing from the western edge of the Netzarim corridor. By the end of the 7th day, they will be off the coastal road. 7 days from today, Palestinians will be able to return to the north. The 1.8 million that were forced out, or 1.8 million that are in the south, many of whom are from the north, will be able to return. And they will be able to show scenes. I mean, we showed some of that B-roll while we were opening the show. But remembering back to the death march, the virtual death march that Israel put people on to walk down to the south, that is going to be returned. People are going to be walking to the north, back to their homes. And that's the first thing that everybody wants, to reunite with their families. And that will happen after 7 days. The agreement is to return in the first phase 2,000 prisoners. 1,200 of those are Gaza bargaining chips. Those were people that were taken from Gaza with no charges. We watched them get frog marched out of shelters. We watched medical workers get frog marched out of hospitals. None of those people have charges. They went into torture camps in the south. We know about those camps and the brutality that went along with them. Those people were bargaining chips, and all of those people will be returning back to Gaza in this first 42 days, phase one of this agreement. As well, there'll be 735 security prisoners, Israel calls them, political prisoners, resistance prisoners, that will be released. And it's interesting to note, this is a Qassam operation, but the breakdown of the prisoners is unified. Abu Ubaidah talked about all of the factions as well in his speech, fighting in a unified front. The release of the prisoners is the same. It's 345 Qassam and Hamas fighters. It's 229 Al-Aqsa brigades and Fatah fighters, 67 Saraya al-Quds fighters, 19 PFLP Abu Ali Mustafa Brigades fighters, and 6 DFLP National Resistance Brigades fighters. So those will be released. Part of the release is 296 people sentenced to life sentences, resistance fighters and leaders and cadre that were life sentences. And again, the breakdown is even. It's 127 Fatah, 123 Qassam Hamas, 36 Soraya Al-Quds, and 17 DFLP and PFLP. So the unity that was shown on the battlefield throughout Al-Aqsa flood, throughout the 470 days, is represented in the prisoners that are being released. And these prisoner exchanges are critical to the resistance. We'll know that Yahya Sinwar was released in the last prisoner exchange. This is cadre that are in prisons that will be returning to the Palestinian national movement. And that's something that even the Israeli Internal Security Services warned their Knesset about, that 82% of people returned to political activities. These are lifelong fighters for liberation, and they refused to sign, this is from Yahya Sinwar, from the Shalit deal, refused to sign any kind of agreement that guarantees they will not go back to fighting. Sinwar refused to sign that, and after he refused to sign it, nobody in the Shalit deal signed it. And this deal, nobody is signing those guarantees that they will not return to political activism and to the fight for liberation. So those are important details that are in the first phase. And because this is the first phase, this is the humanitarian phase of the release. These are all people that could have been, the Israelis that are released, all could have been released on October the 8th. We know that from Sinwar. We know that from the captives themselves who met Sinwar in the tunnels on October 7th and 8th. And Sinwar said that they would be returning in a day or two. Their guards told them they would be returning in a day or two. But Israel prioritized killing Palestinians and destroying the Gaza Strip over returning those prisoners. And because of that, the exchange deal is larger than it would have been at the time. In November, the exchange deal was 3 for 1. Now we're talking about 2,000 for 33. And that's just the first stage. The second stage of the deal is for the soldiers, the Israeli soldiers that are in captivity. There's more than 60 other people that will be held into the second stage of this deal. And the guarantees for those deals going from phase 1 to phase 2 are guaranteed by Egypt, Qatar, the US. And so the idea is that the first stage will turn over after 42 days into the second stage. And that's what we all hope continues. Of course, it's very difficult to trust the Israelis in any of these deals, which is something that is visible in this exchange as well, because there's 46 prisoners being released in this first round who were from the Shalit exchange in 2011, who were rearrested. With that kind of duplicity of the Israelis has been a core to this entire struggle. And of course, the edifice of lies that this whole struggle was built upon are part and parcel of the same thing. So Abu Bakr talked about still hearing drones. There's, according to the agreement, there's supposed to be only 10 hours. There's supposed to be 10 hours a day of no overflight. And on days when prisoners are exchanged, 12 hours of no overflight by drones. And the prisoners are to be exchanged at weekly intervals. Today, January 19th, and then another batch will be released on the 25th, then on February 3rd, February 9th, and throughout the 6 weeks in phases. And those Israelis will be returned in the same way they were returned today in central Gaza, and thousands of Palestinians will be returned to the Gaza Strip and to the West Bank as free citizens.
Of course, the
John,
Israelis have mandated that there be no expressions of joy for Palestinians receiving their loved ones from Israeli torture dungeons. I mean, even just today, Israeli police, I believe, were going to houses around Jerusalem, ordering families of Palestinian prisoners not to, celebrate, not to hold, receptions, no public expressions of joy.
Yeah, at their defeat, at
Yeah,
Israel's defeat, at
yeah,
Israel's attempt to destroy the Gaza Strip and destroy the resistance, destroy the Palestinian people, failed, and now they want to hide those expressions of joy after what they've inflicted, and the crimes that they've inflicted will. Abu Ubaidah also said it will follow them for the rest of their lives,
yeah,
as
as it
people
should.
pursue justice against
Yeah,
these criminals that we've watched for the last 470 days, even up till this morning,
that's right.
when they delayed the ceasefire and carried out more airstrikes, killing 30 people in just petty vengeance. And you juxtapose that with the dignity of the Palestinian people in Gaza, who have lost everything and are out in the streets. And I think we have footage of that. We have footage of the civil defense that were not defeated. The teachers, we know from Dunya, the teachers were not defeated. Here's the civil defense, and these people are the best people that the world has. These people dedicated their entire lives without any resources over these last 470 days. Without people had no ability to phone them, to call them from the rubble. And these are the men digging with their hands because Israel bombed the civil defense heavy machinery so that they couldn't use it. And there's the paramedics, who are also the finest among us, and the respect that they have in the Gaza Strip is unparalleled.
John, you mentioned two things that I want to say, to talk a little bit more about. One is Abu Ubaidah's speech, which I want to get to in a minute, just some of the key points that he made. But the other is the release of the Israeli captives in Saraya Square in the heart of Gaza City. And I think we have some footage of that we can talk about. And this was incredibly symbolic, because what we see in this footage is the Nukhba fighters. These are the elite fighters of the Qassam brigades coming out into the streets in their uniforms, looking battle ready, just as they did on or before October 7th. They came, those are the Red Cross vehicles, but the Qassam fighters showed up in what looked like brand new pickup trucks, which is pretty incredible. And they were being greeted by their people. They were being greeted as heroes. There were scenes of people taking selfies with them, kissing them on their heads, just tremendous support and joy, which just shatters the idea that the resistance is somehow isolated by the people or hated by the people. And there they are signing the certificate, handing over the Israeli captives and showing it. But the symbolism of this is important, because at a certain point early in the war, as you showed us, John, the Israelis actually showed up and occupied Saraya Square. And back in November 2023, we had the prisoner releases during that 1 week truce, which Hamas also did in Saraya Square. And so the symbolism of showing how they are still in control of Gaza City. Even when the Israelis were there, they were there. They were there underground. They were there watching, as you showed us. There were cameras everywhere. Their eyes were everywhere. And I think those images, when Israelis see them, and we saw also images of Israelis watching on big screens in Tel Aviv and different locations, in the streets and restaurants, they saw all this. And so this was palpable, demonstrable proof to the Israeli public of the utter failure of their army and the fact that the total victory they were promised was not achieved, along with, as we mentioned before, the fact that the police, I'm talking about the civil police here, coming out on the streets, directing traffic, the municipality beginning to restore services, and so on. So that's the day after. The day after Hamas is Hamas.
Yeah,
And
hours, at minutes, right? It
yeah,
was minutes. There wasn't
immediate.
a few days to gather themselves. And just let me say, Ali, for the censors, that video that we showed that has no prisoners, no captives in that video. The video's been edited so that there's none of that. That's just crowd scenes. So for the YouTube censors that are listening, that has been removed from that. But yeah, that footage is the footage from the first minutes. And when you said it about Gaza City, downtown Gaza City, it was exactly the same in Beit Hanun, right? The Israelis went into Beit Hanun 2 weeks ago. They thought that they had destroyed Beit Hanun and no one was there. And they took more casualties in that week than they had in any week in months previous. So they were able to fight right till the last moment with the same vigor as on the first day. And that couldn't be, I don't think you could script a defeat more articulately than showing those the footage of the way that those fighters come out in the streets. And this is just a fraction of them. At some point when the situation really does calm down, there will be a major parade, a proper parade in Gaza that will fet these fighters as the heroes of their society, no matter what political party anybody is with. This is a united national liberation struggle that is being represented here.
And that's something that you predicted very early on, of course, in this Holocaust, that no matter what Israel and the United States were going to throw at the Palestinians, that the resistance was not going to be defeated, and there would be an enormous victory parade in the streets of Gaza after.
I mean, I think that is an advantage that I had of having been there and lived there and experienced it. And of course, no battle was anything like this one, and there was no experience. Nobody had experience for what happened this time, but the spirit of the Palestinians in the most catastrophic circumstances, I saw it, and I knew that would remain, and that these fighters themselves were prepared. And we charted it every single week for the entire war. The preparation for the operation itself on October 7th, but the preparation for the battle since it's just remarkable. And another thing that Abu Ubaidah said, he said that we, just as we fought together, we will rebuild together. And he said that we will rebuild with the same vigor as we fought. And it's just a remarkable thing that he said. He said, your wound is our wound to the Palestinians. He said, your pain is our pain. Your hopes are our hopes, and we will rebuild together everything that the enemy destroyed. And to treat the reconstruction in the same way that they treated the battle, to be in the same trench. And we watched that, day in and day out for 470 days. They fought in the same trench as their people, and the fighters are heroes. The children are heroes. The children were the first ones in the streets, faster than the police, faster than the civil defense. It's always the kids, and shout out to the kids for living through this. And what Abu Bakr said is exactly right. This is an entire generation of children who have seen that they can win, that the entire world can be aimed at this tiny little besieged enclave and can't defeat it. That is going to have reverberations through the future for however long it lasts of the Israeli state, because this is a remarkable moment. And hiding pictures of people celebrating or threatening families having gatherings, none of that makes any difference to the way that this is going to be absorbed by the people that lived through it. They lived through the worst, and they came out on the other end surviving, unified. It's just remarkable.
Services for those who lost their lives took place on Sunday. 14 people were killed by an airstrike that flattened their homes in the waning hours of Saturday. Born a few weeks into the ongoing war in Gaza, infant twins Wissam and Naeem Abu Wanza were also among the ones who were buried. Many are still trapped under the rubble of ruins in Gaza's southernmost city. Palestinian Civil Defense released a video showing crew conducting rescue operations after airstrikes on Rafah.
Okay, I got to close it up. We've run out of time, and thank you for joining me. Have a great evening of Just Say No. Thank you.